Welcome to another episode of Still Talking. I'm your host, Kicker Shaver. We are here at the Emporium, as promised, the Mind and Mill. What we're doing here is doing a display on what me and team manager here, Mark Garrett, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. He has put together this visual arts display that we're going to do here. Compliments of the Mind and Mill down here in the Philanthropy and Arts Center. So thank you, technology, for letting Philadelphia sign up on already. Sorry, Pennsylvania. I don't know how close to Philadelphia you are, but we're going to go through the Page of Wonder. So is it anybody? Everybody? No? All right, I'm going to hand these things out to everybody. And I'm going to go up there and I'm going to talk about this science stuff. And play some music and hang out for a little bit with you guys and try to get through everything in a limited amount of time. So I'm going to hand these things out. This, as you guys know, is the Page of Wonder. The one for everybody. And here's what I need for everybody to do is to, anybody have anything to write with? If not, you have no pencils. Let's hand those out. Then let's get dark enough colors to write on here because I need a number on each of them. Each of them, having their own number, 1, 2, starting here. So, those definitely need a number on them because a number comes with that.
No, seriously? Oh, I was going to say, did you ever share with Michelle? Yeah.
Can we live like this? Is everybody okay?
You want to say to me?
Yeah, are you okay with this? Is that too scary? Is that too dark?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's scary. It becomes not scary.
You okay?
See, I'm good. Yeah, you're good. Good job.
All right.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Are you in class?
Kind of a little bit like class, but you guys have met me a little bit already. I'm a little bit nuts. And I'm okay displaying my crazy because I believe that once we find out who we are, we can learn something about ourselves and do something different about who we are. So my goal in anything that I do pretty much in life is to be as sacrificing as possible with as much as I can do to give and what I can learn. And sometimes I put myself through tests to make sure that I'm not all talk. Even recently going through some personal circumstances where I banged up against some pretty hard circumstances and got to use this science against my person who presented themselves as an enemy, and I still present myself as a friend to them, still casting out this olive branch of peace that I'm trying to exhibit in all of this stuff here that you see in front of you. And there's a lot of stuff, so I'm going to try to keep this as interesting as possible. Hopefully you're as fascinated as I am with this. Just seeing that my friend, again, I'm going to give a shout out to my friend here, Mark Garrett. This is mb2access.com that's giving this dynamic presentation. Our goals are not just small. We want to target school environments. We want to target places of business. We want to target places of learning where all of these are capacities to use this type of marketing for things like my business that he's representing here. And really, I don't see this as a business. This is my passion. This is what my heart is in. When I learned a little bit, it gave me a taste, and it became my drug. And I'm addicted to learning, and I want to know more and more and more because I'm not satisfied with being against the wall that I can't see on the other side of. So, as things go dark, light and dark, very important. There's a little science lesson for us there. What can we see in the dark? Good, nothing. So turn on the light inside your mind and you can see everything. So that's what we're doing here, is we're trying to shed a little bit of light. It's great that we actually get to use light as a subject, because really, I've got a set of magnets up here, and you guys are welcome to pass these things around. And the goal is just pull them apart slowly, and what you can do is realize that just that force in between there is the power of the entire universe. It's your capacity to control circumstances and make something that's bound together come apart. And in that power in between, it also is everything that holds things together. So we've got physics, and physics is everything that's tiny in the world. And if we compare that to things like circumstances, we've got little tiny circumstances, we've got real big circumstances. So in the spectrum, from small to big, this is the entire world. So here is our first session, and we'd like to welcome you to YBYU. I can get this thing to cooperate. Yo. Wait patiently.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. I got it.
You're back on seat. Yeah, Mark's better for this stuff anyway. There's too much power. Any questions? So, welcome to YBYU University. This is the goal of learning to move forward in reverberation. I already hear myself.
It's got a delay on it too. It's like a few seconds after what you say.
I can listen to myself like this all day. So, the already perfect experience. And again, my goal here is to teach that idea behind an already perfect existence. You've already been who you are. You already are who you are, so there's only moving forward. So, if we can go into physics, we'll go into the subatomic and everything tiny. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? How about the page of wonder? You guys have this thing in front of you. You guys need light back there? You guys need light to be able to see that?
Okay, I can see it.
Yeah, you need light. You know what? I'm going to give you light. Can we still see that online? Yeah. We still see everything? We still good?
That's what used to be.
I see over there. It looks good from here, so let's go with it. So in physics, it's everything that's bound together in this magnet stuff that we pass around, the magnets we talk about. So in the rainbow, the visible spectrum, we've got all things in magnet power. Let's go over that. Sorry, we're going to move out of physics, because really physics started scratch. It's everything tiny, everything big. In magnetic attractions and repulsions. So, back onto that subject of the tiny stuff. Alright, so we've got the little tiny stuff, we've got the really big stuff, and in the little tiny stuff we've got these energies that are positive and negative. Inside our bodies we've got very simple things that operate, whether we're being a positive energy in the world or whether we're being that sucking force and being a negative, and they both portray a different kind of light. And that's how simple it is in the way that we think, the way that we act, the way that we feel. So I'll show you the psychology. And in this entire spectrum, we've got all these different waves represented. So this I want to jump straight into psychology. Of my favorite subjects, this has got to be it. This has got to be it right here. It's the mind. It's where we fit in this spectrum of all of these things, and where you can be who you are. And you can feel natural about it. You can go into any situation and be something worth being in the room. You can count your value system and the way that you think when you understand that your mind is one mind. It's a unique mind. It's one that doesn't belong anywhere but where where you are right now. So these futures that we think about, these things that we worry about, these things even that we're passionate about, that might even be a wrong path. You might not even know where you're supposed to end up. I'd have never dreamed I was going to end up in an art gallery getting, having this actually in front of you. If you'd have asked me 20 years ago, I was going to try to be a country star and up on stage playing this thing. So here being able to go in and do all this research that I count as really high value, we go into what is the thing we call our soul and our breath, that orb, that ism that you are in this universe, the beauty that you can be, and the take and the greed that we end up being. And I learned a lot of it from a man, ancient Greece, Hippocrates. We know him as the father of medicine these days. If you're in the medical field, he said that thing first, do no harm, which really means let's not make people worse. Like they show up already broken, let's not make them any worse. So in the bubble theory that we go into, there's everything in the way that we think, the way that we act, the way that we feel, in our control levels, the understanding of what you comprehend when you look into the center of somebody's eye. If you kind of imagine this, at looking in somebody's eyes and trying to understand them from a different perspective. So at the root of who somebody is their individual understanding. And think about one simple thought. An individual thought can have multiple decisions to make about it. So that in itself is its own little universe. One simple molecular thought of the root of where you come from is in this concept of this one simple thought and where it comes from. Is it coming from a place of greed and need, or is it coming from a place of seed and feed? Are you giving into the world, or are you taking from it? Because no matter where you are in the universe, I had a very valuable lesson on birthday. Walked out, my best friend sitting there polishing my motorcycle. He said, I don't have a lot to give, but what I have to give, I can do this. And it's probably one of the best gifts I've ever received by gift is someone who handed me a servitude. And then, of course, in this book, there's a line, there's a chapter of the Already Perfect book, which we're still putting together. It says that, of course, imagine the life that you can live when you learn that you can't run out of gift. And then it also goes into, the chapter is actually called Servitude. It says if you're going to cop a servitude. Go and give something beautiful because you have it to give inside of who you are. So this understanding of self and who you are has layers, and inside those layers, let's imagine those as bubbles that pop and pop and pop and pop. So at the root of who you are, you've got your understanding, and then in your understanding, your decision is in your control, and that's going to go through whether you're deciding to control a circumstance in your social life or whether it's in your personal life. And that's what these two are, is that those control centers here. And then in the root of those decision making, that actually makes up who your natural are. At the root of who you are, that is who you are, is your natural decision making in what you think, where you think you fit in the world, and what the world thinks of you. So then outside of that, of course, you've got your character. This is the things your parents made you, your family, your nurturing, the things that built up the structure of the mantle of who you are. If we're looking at this like a planet, where this is the core, the mantle, and then, of course, another layer would be the personality, which is the outer crust of who you are and what you show the world. And what you show the world is the most important part, because that's who people see. It's one of the things we say is your face isn't for you. Otherwise, you'll be able to see it. If your face is actually for the purpose of expressing what you're going through to the people around you, for the purpose of understanding. Otherwise, there'd be no reason to have expression. And expression fits out here in who you are. So all of these things that fit together in your intimate, close, personal relationships of who you were conditioned to be in your affectionate world. And then the same thing in your social world. When you go out into the world and you have this supermarket attitude. You know, how do you shop? What do you think when you're shopping? What do you do when you're going through there? When you're walking through the mall, how do you carry? You watch what other people are doing, or are you watching, if they're watching what you're doing? All these things that matter, and all of this crushed layer of who you are, and all bubble roots down into this one simple thing of what you understand from the world around you, and what you put out from it, and what you understand about it. So, I actually, in this, I like to really call this the heavenly celestial body in the range of opposites. So the title here, Planetary Spectrum of Psychological Fusion. So let's break that down. Planetary is the heavenly celestial body, and imagine yourself as a planet. Imagine yourself as this thing that just spits out positive and negative and neutral energies all over. So all of these things that we get to feel, that we push out in this bubble of this existence, in this spectrum, it's a range of opposites. That's why we attract to our opposites. And our opposites attract to us. And then there's this connection. And then sometimes there's this rapid repulsion that happens. That's why people break up and hate each other. So the polar opposites and the range of opposites here in the word spectrum. Psyche, really would be the word there because our confusion, but psychological for the purpose of the word. So psyche is our mind, soul, and our breath, as we saw out there earlier. And then logical is our sound reasoning. And fusion is any time two things or more come together. See you again. Good to see you. So we were in it. We were talking about some psychology stuff already. We already to quickly go through the bubbles, understanding our social interactions, our personal. So all cognitive, comprehensible things, everything that your brain is capable of bringing into it. And let's talk about the word ology real quickly. So we know the word ology really means branch of knowledge of anything. So anytime there's a word ology tacked on anything here, let's take out that word log, L-O-G. Let's pretend it's just we cut out a little chunk so we can throw it on our fireplace and burn a log of ology, and that way we can really root in what that word means. It's important to go through these branches of knowledge, because when you see a branch, you'll notice it's a vein. And a vascular system needs to flow, so the further out you can grow your branch, the bigger and more majestic your tree can be. If you see what happens in the synapses in your brain, we'll have some pictures of that here later on when we get into physiology. But here, let's stick in psychology for a minute. So what the world sees. So we're going to go into the strengths and weaknesses of what a person is in the garden of who you are, and why we behave certain ways that cause us to have our failures in life that repeat in an orbit that happen over and over again. And then, of course, the strengths that overcome those and make you walk the who you're supposed to be. When you tend your garden, you're like, that's right. Capable, competent, able, and ready. So here we go, moving. Let's go strengths. Strengths are going to be our moral decisions that fit inside our compass, that prevent that thing in psychology they call cognitive dissonance. If you're on Facebook, we talked about that the other day. It's that thing when you just have an argument inside yourself and you're like, I don't know what to do. So when we go through that range of opposites, those moral decisions that make us satisfied with the things we look back and we're like, hey, I'm happy I did that. Happy memory to look at, not a stumbling mess that I look at and I tore to pieces with my weaknesses. So achievements, anything that you have achieved and are capable of achieving are right here in our strengths. So talents, anything that you're capable of doing with your hands, anything you're capable of doing to assist others in your talents and things you're naturally good at that you just don't have to try to do. You just step forward, you're like, yeah, that works. So then we've got our developed skills, the things that we've conditioned our bodies to be able to do. I told myself for so many years, even a lead guitarist told me, he's like, just try, just do it. I'm like, no, I can't. These sausages won't do it. Fast forward years and years and years, I'm like, well, there it is, you can do it. And now I can teach you guys how to do it, and like, maybe we'll do one of those too if you want later. We'll do a little guitar lesson. So that's a very simple one for a simple guitarist like me. Your developed skills are things we're capable of developing and doing. Another, fun little fact is I've had over 50, 60 jobs. So I've done just about a little bit of everything. It's one of my favorite things to do is like, we play a game called What Do You Do? I'll tell you what I did with you. In that field. So it's one of my favorite things to do because I've really worked in a lot of fields. In the literal fields too, cotton and rice. So our positive thoughts. So the things that we think about that keep us in a state of euphoric thought, the things that can keep our emotions in a positive state when we secrete those things that make our body feel good, even though the same things that we secrete when we feel bad are some drugs. So our thoughts that think about that change the way we are. That's the difference between that kid at the top of the roller coaster going, yeah! The kids in the bottom about to have to clean up a mess. So, and then there's the overcoming of weakness, which is a strength. You have to use strength, to overcome a weakness. Sponsored by A&W Root Beer. Yeah, upstairs in the fridge. That way. So over here in the weaknesses, these are the more valuable things to know, because strengths, normally those come naturally and you've already done a lot of things to develop your strengths. But focusing on your weaknesses to overcome them is really the smartest thing for your garden, because weaknesses are just going to naturally eat away from the nutrients of what you're supposed to have and of what you're consuming anyway. Is he looking for something in there? That's not it. You know what I'm looking for? It's this. So, in our poor decision making, which is, if you'll notice from the top, there's going to be the polar opposites. And I'm going to try to do that in everything so we can see the opposites of every spectrum. So everything here is going to root into every other subject. So in here we've got our poor decision making, which is, when you're not supposed to do something, you do it anyway, and then you look back and go, I knew I wasn't supposed to do that. So then you've got our regrets, our shame, our fear, our worry, our doubts, all those things that keep us in a state of mind that prevent us from being able to operate in a strength. It eats away at the root of who you are when you live in any sense of negativity. Our denied strengths, because there's things that we know we're naturally good at and we're not doing anything about it. We let it sit on the back burner. We live in our plan B. If that's something that you do, tend your garden. If you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, go walk in it for a minute. Be it today. There's no reason why today can't be that step towards who you are, who you want to be. There's this moment in the one that you live in. So we go all the way back out. We're going to go back to that in a minute. All the way, sorry. So, walking through the spectrum of how this all connects. Why in this order? Physics is everything small and smaller. The stuff we're still too stupid as people to figure out because we haven't seen that small yet. We talked about quarks earlier, the little tiny moving pressure condensed light, which is everything in different colors. Magnetism, which is everything that connects in polar opposites in physics, that makes energy to create an orbit, to make it look exactly like an orbital system that's just a magnet that goes around and around. So here we go to magnetism. Psychology, we're the only people who care about physics. And inside our mind, all these things, the way that we see, the way that we speak, the way that we feel, the way that we hear, the way that we think, the way that we do, our sensory, and the way that we want to consume the other things that are made in the biological structure of geology because we eat its fruits. The way that we decide what's best for our individual system that fits in our guts. The way that we connect with other people in our magneticism. My own word. Webster, call me. Magneticism is the magnetism that is you, that bubble of who you are, what you project into your verse. The things that you speak is a verse. And the words that you put together, and the way that you put together, and what the energy that you put on it. What do you mean? Do you mean something positive? Are you going to do that positive thing that you mean and step into the future that you're creating out of the words that you make? Or is it a negative, and you're going to go out there and be a negative drawing force in the world? Or, if I can quote the new Emojis movie, you be that? Because that can be. You could just float through life too. So magnetism is who you are, what you're capable of being, connecting you with other people. And when you connect with another person, sometimes you find one, you're like, hey, let's make a baby. And then you get another human. And then when you get another human, you connect two gene pools together, and you get my friend Gene here. A new creature, a whole new being, and that being is the ology. So the ology behind remembering the log inside, we've got ology, and all these different studies and branches of knowledge. So the connecting of those makes another life. So making another life is bio, and bio is ology, so the branches of knowledge of all kinds of living things and organisms that are made, that duplicate, and the thing we call mitosis, which is just splitting cells, making stuff, when it connects together with other stuff. So as long as that keeps happening, we get a trail that we leave behind that a dog can follow. That's where we're talking about how unique you are in this whole spectrum. Where do you fit in all of this here? On that page in front of you, where do you fit in this whole spectrum of the world? What is your world doing to do something good in all this whole system? Because the geology is the earth trail. Because after you eat some fruit, or you eat some animal or living matter, this is going to be here for the day. I should learn it. So, geology, geo is actually earth. So actually earth is dirt, and dirt is what you're leaving behind. But the dog will be like, yeah, I'm pretty positive it was that guy right there. And then if they don't surrender, they chew on you a little bit, depending upon what police department change their dogs. So, then you've also got the cosmic. This is everything that spins in the big stuff. Everything that spins in the little stuff. And everything that spins in the big stuff. And here you are, standing on top of it all. On this big spinning ball, here you are, standing on top of it all. In your spot. In your place. In who you are. And who you're capable of being already. And what you already know that can benefit somebody else because you know it. Because you're in the moment, at the moment. So, for the whole spectrum, the point is who you are in it. That's why I do anything. Is because if I can show you a little bit about who you are, tell you a little bit about who I am, and that's what we all understand about each other. If we can share that, then we can share something beautiful with who we are, what we know about each other. And if we have strengths and we're friends, then our strengths make each other stronger. Old Forrest Gump and Bubba. Bubba says, if you lean your back up against mine, neither one of us got to think about face in the mud. So I sure like that idea of not having to sleep with your face in that dirt and water, in that mud part, because there's no fun. There's times in life where there's no fun part. So in this psychology spectrum, in geology, in biology, genealogy, all of these fit together. There's a science that says that you behave a certain way because you're born in alignment with the way that the certain magnetic fields and the certain energies of the types of elements that are inside it. If it's got different light energies, there's different sciences that say that you behave certain ways because you were born at a certain time under your specific stars. There's a reason behind this science. There's a reason behind what you do. So this is where I'd like to share with you a poem. Can you pull up the page? In physics right here. In this cosmic existence of happening unhappy circumstance, we find ourselves at the beginning. One crying baby, a life full of maybe, a chance of life, losing or winning. We joke and we laugh and we hate and attack, no balance until peace of mind. Revelation reveals an uncommon appeal. If you open your eyes, you will find the whole universe hid back behind your eyelid. Such a beautiful, odd disarray. As the molecules change with the words you arrange, so the cosmos will do what you say. The pain and the blame, all is no gain the same, no material matter will last. Because of your choice, just your breath is a voice that is changing your future to past. Just a cosmic perception began at conception, now three are made one family. It's the parents and child of the life calm or wild, the molecules making up me. So we go back out if you want. That's also a song, I just don't know how to play it yet. And of course, you guys on Facebook, and of course, everybody here, you can always go back to that stuff on Facebook to see all the still talking stuff that you guys saw us do over here, the intro. That I don't know if you guys have seen that. But so did we go into now let's go back into biology real quick. Let's go to biology. And I want to talk about the reason I want to talk about biology is because there's a reason that we behave that Hippocrates thought that we behave a certain way. And it was really rooted in our system over here. In our body system of the way that our body works. So in the central nervous system, the upper digestive system, the lymphatic system, lower digestive tract, and the circulatory system, this is the way our bodies work. So you put all those things together, you get one of these. So if we go in, there's behavior systems inside the body that we're going to link back over in psychology. So here we've got the upper digestive system is everything that you're hungry for, everything that you want to go and you want to take it and make your body satisfied with eating. And then you speak about it, you crave your hungers, you have certain demands on your body for sustenance. And then you've got the lymphatic system, which is everything that controls everything that's supposed to get kicked out of the body. And then it's really smooth system, our mucous membranes. Of course, if you sneeze, it's because you have to force that stuff out. And then it really kicks out anything that doesn't belong. The lower digestive tract really breaks down our food and makes sure it goes to the right places, gets the nutrients, and purges out anything that doesn't belong. We've got the circulatory system, which is our blood. It's always in motion. It's always having to move. When you stop it, immediately it has to die. So then you've also got the central nervous system, which is really in charge of feelings. Everything that the body feels, and it tells the mind tells everything how it's supposed to be governed, and this means yay, and this means sorry, the opposite. I said that totally backwards. That means it depends on where you are, really. Because, certain people still say yay, but typically ouch and wonder depends on how you're being touched in the central nervous system. So, on occasion, I will get things backwards. So in those different behaviors in the body, we can go back over to psychology now. In the behaviors of the way that our body is acting, we take us to Hippocrates. He was born in the year 480, so this is not new stuff, but I do like to say he invented the OG emoji. If you see your emojis on your phone, he had these little emojis. You can look this stuff up. He had these temperaments drawn up, and the way that the faces of these individual people types look. So the original emojis were created back in thousands of years ago or so. So Hippocrates' 4 temperaments theory, and then boom, we have 5. What the heck? So That fifth one, supine, that was an algorithm that some scientists did in like 1984 to discover that those guys don't fit in there, but it also covers the central nervous system. So, do we have any volunteers? Anybody want to volunteer for a reading of? She says no. She said no. Just so I can, you want to you want to find out who you are in this? Anybody want to volunteer to find out who they are in this? Yeah? Come on up, Drew. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Dirty Drew. It's been a long time. So, little backstory on Drew. Drew is a plain white rapper. He's a rap star, and he usurps me with music when he brings his stuff out around girls. And I'm like, stop! I sing love songs. He's like, bah, 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 and he just spits his stuff out, and then it's like, oh, I want your CD. I'm like, ask for mine, dang it! I hate your guts. No, I love this guy with all my heart. So Drew has volunteered to go through a little one-on-one session here. So let's see. Drew is here in these. Drew fits right here in these with the connection of the way that you really fit in the universe. So let's start in melancholic. Melancholic, melon means black, colic means bile. Bile is the stuff that runs your system on kicking stuff out that don't belong. So strengths and weaknesses. Let's go to the strengths. And let's say that deep and thoughtful, analytical, creative, serious and intentional, purposeful. Just move it. It's out of the way more. So, serious and intentional, purposeful, prone to genius, artistic, rap star, musical, that's weird, but that's there, philosophical, poetic. This has got to be wrong. I'm sorry. This has got to be wrong about him, right? This can't be true, right? So, appreciative of beauty, sensitive to others, self-sacrificing, idealistic, schedule-oriented, perfectionistic, tidy, high standards, detail-conscious, persistent, thorough, orderly, economical, sees the problems and pitfalls with all kinds of activities and things, sees what not to do, finds creative solutions, finisher, likes charts, graphs, figures, and lists. This guy can tell you what's going on the page. Cautious and selective, making friends. Happy to stay in the background, faithful, avoids causing attention, devoted, willing to listen to complaints, can solve other people's problems, deep concern for others, moved to tears with compassion, seeks an ideal mate. Am I way off? No? No? Are we close? Do any of these not fit?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Would it depend on this? So let's go over to the other page and let's work on that sometimes. Let's see if there's some stuff that we can make you hate in your garden.
Yeah.
Right? Remember the negatives. Can be moody, depressed. That's a weird one. Enjoys being hurt. Remember I talked about that one? Ow! Hey! Right? So, false sense of humility, which is a terrible thing to have. Because I'm the most humble guy you will ever meet, and I can prove it. You can't brag about being humble, I guess. So, what if reality? Ooh, that's a tough one. If you live in that world, y'all, you create this reality of your own, and if you live in that reality and it's your own, then you be alone in it. So that's a warning for anybody who lives in their what if reality, because it's dangerous for anybody. It's dangerous for anybody, which is really creating something that doesn't exist and then walking in it as if it's negative. If you're out of your mind and you're just constantly bubbly and you're out of your mind, you're the happiest person in the world. Stay there. But if you're the depressive and you're sad, there's an upside of it. So if that what if reality keeps you in something negative and keeps you living with other people's existences being too high on expectation, it's a life ruiner right there. So that was a big one. Feels guilty, low self-image, selective hearing, self-centered, overly introspective, looking inside and saying, "What's wrong? with me instead of just being yourself. So that's, so perks diffusing complex, hypochondriac, not people-oriented, chooses difficult work, procrastinator, prefers to analyze than to perform, self-depreciating, high, unrealistic expectations. We just covered that over here with this what-if reality. Deep need for approval, lives vicariously through others, insecure socially, withdrawn, critical of others, stingy with affection, suspicious, unforgiving, antagonizing, vengeful, contradictory, skeptical of praise and compliments. All of these are characteristics of that one person type. This is old stuff that I'm quoting here from old Hippocrates. So cruising back over, let's go back over into the phlegmatic and see the other side, because that's just one area of your life. There's a whole other area where you behave entirely like this. And let's start over here in the weaknesses since we're on them. And let's go potential here if you have these weeds in your garden. Lack enthusiasm, fearful, worried, indecisive, avoiding responsibility, silently immovable. That one I'm going to touch on for a second so people understand exactly what that is. That's this. I know you told me what to do. I like watching you say it. I ain't going to do what you said. I ain't going to tell you that I'm going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. So that's silent immovability. So it's really something that's a danger for a lot of people. But the silent immovability, selfishness, shy, self-righteous, placating. Woo, that's another danger one right there that fits in the silent immovability. It's like, all right, finish talking. Good to hear you say it. So withdrawn, secretive, lacks goals and orientation. Orientation being like how to get something done, what to start with. Where's step one? We've got procrastination, non-self-motivating, immovable objects fits over here with silent immovability, which means, it's like, we mentioned earlier the bile system. The mucous membrane system. So that silent immovability and that immovable object resents giving demands or inspirations. Discouraging to others, a watcher, not a doer, stifling emotions, stifles emotional outbursts like, I want to see you freak out, so go do it by yourself. I'm not like that. Uninvolved, non-exciting, doesn't care, judgmental, indifferent to opinions, selfish with time. Woo, that's a big one there. Danger, danger, danger. If you're selfish with your time, it means other people aren't worth it. Ooh, ow. So if anybody ever told you something like, I feel like you just don't care. Evaluate whether you've put any time into what they do. That's a danger, 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 because that's a good way to get people like that out of your life. So sarcasm, teasing, resenting of change, and all of these can be big old walls that we put up around. And then let's go to the strengths of what the phlegmatic is. Laid back. Patient, consistent, emotionally balanced, calm, well-connected, peacekeeper. A peacekeeper is someone who can see problems on both sides and find the solution in between, bring people back together. Structurally supportive, good arbitrator, handles pressure, absorbs negative and positive. That's one of the most powerful things in the universe, by the way. Your ability to absorb. If you're capable of absorbing a circumstance, then you look like you know what you're doing. If something's happening and you're the calm one, well, then you're something other people can hold on to and say, why are you so calm? Well, it's a deal. It's just a wave. So this is really, in my opinion, the most powerful universe lives in this. And the ability to absorb positive and negative. Woo, you phlegmatics, I love you. Because you're so capable of just being like, well, yeah, that meh. It can be used as a positive. When you use that thing as a positive, like, hey, come here. Like a parent who's like, hey, you ran into that wall? Remember I told you that wall was there? Come here. I know you're trying it, but I told you. You got to listen to me when I say there's a wall. So that ability to absorb a positive or a negative. Finding the easy way, that's where the inventors come from, ladies and gentlemen. If you can find the easy way, as an inventor, I like to say that the easiest way to winning is to cheat. That's how you invent new stuff. You know, you take something existing and make it look stupid. Or you make something nobody else made before, and that's how you become an innovator. So easygoing, pleasurable, super nice, personable, people watcher, compassionate, concerned, reserved, contemplative. So thank you, Drew, for hanging out for that part. Do you feel like we kind of hit on any points that fit? Several. Good. So let's look at that as a garden for Drew, as a garden for you, as a garden for every individual and where you fit in all of these different spectrums. And we talked about physiology a moment ago, so let's link them. The choleric is that upper digestive system. Lower digestive system here is the melancholic, black bile. The phlegm system, the phlegmatic phlegm, which is the mucous membranes. That stuff that coats the body nicely and has to be forced to be moved. The melancholic system that breaks down things and puts them in distribution. The choleric system that speaks the orders of the body and makes its demands on what's necessary to keep the whole system alive. The blood system that is always in motion, doesn't sleep, always looking for an audience. So the blood system, and when it stops, dies immediately. Stop for long enough to go to sleep. And the supine, that when I told you guys was developed much later, the supine is the one that lays flat on the back. Lets the world walk all over them. Because they have that servant's heart, that longingness to desire. I got a little bit of that in me too. So for me personally, my combination is right here. And as polar opposites in friendships, we see shows like Friends and stuff like that, and we'll each be able to pick out, you name a show, I'll tell you who's what in the show. If we want to play a little game, we can certainly do that. We can do a psychological reading on pretty much any individual using this science. And once you know it and solidify it in your mind on how your body operates anyway, it's kind of fun to think about because you're moving. And just because your body's moving, you're using your central nervous system. And, everything here is already constantly functioning. So let's go ahead and go into the choleric, which is a variety of people you already know. We'll talk about the boss man. This is the person who's always in charge. The person who they're really goal-oriented, they're adaptable, they're capable with other people, they're really strong-willed, decisive, confident, resolved, independent, self-sufficient, capable of doing all of the conflict resolution, goal-oriented, broad vision. They're practical, assertive, delegatory, productive, proactive, cooperative, proud. They're rule makers, fast-paced, stimulated by group activity, event coordination. They're the resolvers of conflict and righteous. They try to live by a righteous code. So over here in the weaknesses side of what we've got is the way that people behave in their negatives, in that weed side of their garden. If you're bossy, you're impatient, you're rude, inconsiderate, you're fast to be angry, stressed out, you're not sympathetic to others, you're blindly impulsive, pugnacious, that's a fun word, it's one of my favorite ones. It really means that you enjoy the idea of getting yourself into an argument. So don't be that guy. Controversial, inflexible. Dislikes, displays emotions from others. Intolerant of mistakes. Word worshiper, bored by the details. Irrational, decision-making, manipulative. Demanding of loyalty, competitive, requiring of control. This person type fits the one who is the upper digestive system, the one that's barking the orders. Hey, I'm hungry. Hey, that smells good. Hey, that sounds good. Hey, let's go towards this. Let's go towards that. The dictator of the body that dictates everything. So in the strengths and weaknesses of that person, they can go out in the world and operate in those strengths and be something that's good in the world. Be a natural born leader who shows people what to do, that pushes them out a window. Pushes them into things that are not good for that individual. So I really like the Art of War. General Sun Tzu says that the first law in war is that your soldiers are willing to give you their life. It's called the moral law. is the operation under the idea that my cause is worth your life because I give mine. And when you get that type of following behind you for someone who's willing to say, what you have is a powerful enough thing for me to share, and if somebody wants to stop me from sharing it, well, they're going to have to take my life in order to do it. So that moral law is a really good thing for people to get, as long as they are in their strength and operating in the give nature that I'm talking about. Otherwise, we end up with characters like Hitler. We end up with characters like Mussolini. We end up with these characters who have this mindset of ultimate domination and deciding where a life belongs and its value, and whether or not it deserves for its bloodline to continue. So, if we go back out into there. Thank you, Drew, that we got to go through those two with you. That helps a bunch. Sanguine, let's go. You know what? Let's go to Supine first. Supine, 1984. This thing was discovered, and I'm jumping over that one because Sanguine is mine. It's my favorite thing to go into because one of people's favorite things to do is talk about, which is why I'm here. So, can we go back on one? So yeah, okay, that's right. You're in the right place. So the strengths of a supine is someone who's very much similar to the phlegmatic in their capacity of giving, but they think about it much differently than a phlegmatic. Where a phlegmatic really is capable of not having much concern about something. These guys have the weight of the world on their shoulders, and it is tough to get that weight off if you have this born temperament, because you actually empath. M-E-M really means I am, and then path, anytime you get path, like cardiomyopathy, pathy really means suffering. So empathy is to actually, I am suffering because you are suffering. It's an actual emotional feeling that is portrayed off of an individual in that magnetic connection that you can have just by witnessing somebody else's circumstance and feeling your pain associated with theirs. Of course, there's the opposite side of that people who enjoy watching other people suffer. Don't be that guy. Low-key, easygoing, responsive, servant's heart. Man, that's a tough one. A servant's heart, always in the give nature, which we'll talk about the dangers of that too. Capable of being pleased, very happy to give, pleasing to others, which is one of their favorite things to do, is to see other people pleased. They're very likable, gentle, highly dependable, the upholders of the laws, structures, and establishments, and the rules and the systems of the world. They're open emotionally, deeply committed, especially if they're treated properly. A deep well of giving capacity, sponge for fulfilling needs of others, encouragers, smart, healers of the world. They're non-invasive, and they're happy to help in any given circumstance. Then if we go into the weaknesses, they can find themselves angry with the world because they feel the weight. Remember that empathy can be a dangerous thing for them as well. Displaying their own hurts in anger, feelings being worn outside, indirect behavior, which links to wanting other people to read their minds, it's somewhere around here. Indirect behavior, reactive, insatiable desire to be loved and to be invited, overly sensitive, unsure when to enter and exit, bitter, spiteful, grudge holder, unspoken rage. That's another danger right there, because if you're the person who won't speak up, then you're the person who holds it in. And if you're the person who holds it in, then you're the person who doesn't find a resolve. If you don't find that conflict resolution. So you can find it within yourself with the things that you're willing to accept. But that unspoken rage, if it has a place in the world to be spoken, even if it's among your family, among your friends, among somebody who you can find to care, that's a very important thing, is to be able to learn to speak up. Because if you don't speak, you don't get. Most people aren't going to have any clue what you're talking about. most people aren't going to conclude you want because you're not talking about it. Fear of rejection expects others to read their minds, whatever that is, as mentioned earlier. Extremely overly dependent, stifling feelings of powerlessness. That's a tough one too. And your stifling feelings of powerlessness is living in any circumstance where you can't see outside of it. It's putting your face up against a wall and refusing to step back and just see it's a couple of bricks. You can walk right around this. It's a little problem. You can walk through it. And even if it's not a little problem, if it's a huge problem, you can take a step back and get a bigger picture of where you are. So that stifling feelings of powerlessness, that can be in all of us. So remember, wherever you are in the world, somebody is out there running a country, running all kinds of things that you're capable of doing, all kinds of fun things with the life that you have. So if you have those stifling feelings of powerlessness, stop it. Find out where your strength is and go live it, and you're going to find a more beautiful existence. This deep need for reassurance, deep, unfulfillable need for love. Unfulfillable will be the key term there. This drawing force that once you feel love, you have to have more, and more. And there's this insatiable desire to have this well filled. And then it means that the people around you can't please you because you're always hungry for more and more and more and more and more. So another danger there. So deep, intimate, difficulty initiating things, associated but not procrastinating. Difficulty getting invited, generally fearful, anxious with final decisions, refuses to decide, easily wounded, high expectations of others, hard to joke with, refuses to handle pressure, and in a constant need of support. And then we'll finish this part up, and we'll talk about the same. We'll talk about the way I am, and then you guys have any interest in hearing any music?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll play a song after this, because this is this is what started it all for me. We can go back after the singing for a minute. Little sub story about me. I was on the way to a funeral for a family who said things to me like, "We thought you were going to be dead before you were 18, dead or in prison." So coming out of a life expectation that I was going to be some tragic being, to be able to learn everything that I've learned about in such a short amount of time. It was 2013. On the way to a funeral, I heard this word for the first time. And it changed the entire universe for me. It means blood. Sangre is the root Latin word. It's also in Spanish, it means blood. And the variations of what it means taught me so much about everybody. Even my friend Mark Clark, New York, said something very interesting, very life-changing for me and eye-opening when we drove on the freeway, and we kind of pointed out to him. He said, it's kind of weird that he said he just realized that, he said, everybody here. He said, just because of the stuff that you studied, you can take anybody out, pull them over, and change their life because of what you've learned. And it put me in place. It just, boom! It put me in place from coming out of a place. I love a good Phoenix story. To rise up out of the ashes. So we're talking about Hallfield Designs. The guy that made my jean. The guy that made some of the illustrations for this. Look up HallfieldDesigns.com and you'll see his stuff. It's amazing. He's such a talent. Another Phoenix story. Rose up out of literal ashes. Got himself lit on fire. Learned how to draw as a result. My jean. Out of the ashes. What's your out of the ashes story? Where are you going to go with this? You go help somebody with it? Start where you are. Start with you. And that's where I started. When my sister-in-law Sarah started telling me things like, I learned a lot when I learned this word, because she and I are very kindred in that area where we're both very much in this area. So I'm going to start with the weaknesses in this, because if you want to go to get to your garden, tend and make some fruit show up fast, you know your weaknesses. Your strengths will come. When you learn what your strengths are, we'll focus on them. It's like going to the gym. You want to focus on a muscle, make that muscle bigger? Well, then focus on your strengths. If you want to go and learn how to make that muscle bigger, we'll go tug on some weeds. And that's where we are here in my garden of my compulsive behaviors. People might witness that pretty frequently. It's compulsive behaviors for me, and this all-powerful sense of urgency. It gives me my anxieties. That makes me freak out. You guys on Facebook will know exactly what I'm talking about when you'll see me. I'll freak out with you on the camera. That's what I'm doing here, is showing everything that I'm learning so it's real and out loud for you guys on Facebook. And then, of course, I'm really honored that you guys are here. Thank you for coming. It's an honor and a treasure to have you guys here. So, uncontrollable urges, meaning, there's a reason I'm thinking to join the military. I really enjoy when somebody gets frustrated because they have control or associated control over me, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. But I like watching you try. So my uncontrollable urges, it's hard to stop me from doing something I want to do. Thank God I want to do good things. So, easily distracted. What were we talking about anyway? How long have we been here? What are we doing? So, chronic talker, that was weird. What's the name of this show? Can you tell me what the name of the show is?
Already.
No, not that show. The other one. Nobody wants to do it. Still talking. So chronic talker, that one would be in there, exaggerating, which is insane that I would ever blow anything out of proportion. It's all logical, the proportions that I use, even if it's cosmic. I'm okay with going there, and I'm never going to exaggerate or be sarcastic. So, dwells on trivial things. Man, oh man, that's a personal one I have to constantly stay on top of. I will pick out a little problem with myself and devastate my life with it. I will find something and be like, oh, now because of this, you're useless and miserable and no good and rotten and the world hates you anyway, so you should just die. But that's not as often when I'm as narcissistic. So when I'm thinking that I'm on top of the world and these hands are as capable of anything that you can do in the universe because, well, you've already done it. Ask anybody, what their job is. Remember that game. You've already done so many capable things with these hands. You've already spoken healing in lives. You've already gone to benefit people. So my narcissism can be used in a good way, but we'll talk about that because it's another word for it. Dwells on the trivial, forgetful, because, good Lord, even at work, I've had somebody walk around the corner, and me, 10-second Tom over here, I'm like, would you like to try a massage? Forgetful, overly happy. Should have seen when I met a little girl today. Good Lord, I scared her. I can be scary with antics and embellished to the point of lying. Yeah, I've been given to. I actually used to say all kinds of crazy stuff as a kid. I would tell you the story. I'm a new kid. You don't know me. I will tell you anything. I won't move in a minute and tell you anything I want to. I was a rodeo champion back when I was numb. Because I was eating earlier, it was numb now. It was delicious. I enjoyed it. So, I thank God I don't do that stuff as much anymore unless I'm telling a story, which is also on a straight side. Appreciative of beauty. Good Lord, visually stimulated. I like pretty things. I like looking at pretty things. I like seeing beauty in vastness and in tiny things. Obviously, I appreciate beauty because if you see the beauty of what my dear friend Mark, MB2Access.com, has put together here, I'm really hoping to put this in school systems, to change the way that they educate, because if we can keep you awake here for a minute, and this is at all fascinating, then we can certainly change a kindergarten and make it all picture worthy. So sensitive to others, I think that's probably what makes me a an empath and a songwriter is my ability. I never served in the military, but I just got a nice, certificate of appreciation from Congress and the Senate and all that for writing that song, Soldier's Prayer, because I really do put myself in a psychological position of trying to understand what someone would go through in those circumstances. And that's where my lyrics come from in the music that I make. Idealistic, restless energy, egotistical, complainer. Woo! There's a chapter in the book, Already Perfect, called Complaining versus Informing. Super important to know, because when you show up somewhere and complain, nobody wants to hear what you have to say unless they care about you. Somebody who cares about you will hear you complain and then help you through a solution because you care about them, you'll listen. But informing is the best thing to do about any given circumstance, because then you're presenting something with an option to repair the situation, not just whining. So, had to learn that for myself. Went on a complaining fast, by the way, and so that's a challenge. Complaining fast. Go on this fast that prevents you from being able to complain for X amount of days, even one. It was hard the first time, so complaining fasting. Loud and obnoxious. I don't even know why that's there. I don't even know why that's there. That's insane that would be there for me. But ranting, oh good Lord, my kids would probably rather take a beating than hear me talk, on and on about how you can do things better to make a bad decision. They're like, just let me go. Let me out of this situation. I don't want to hit, because I really do enjoy a good long rant about something I'm not happy about. Oblivious to other people's emotions, naive, circumstance controlled, easily angered. Man, I spent years banging these fists up against walls and stuff and throwing stuff and slinging hammers across the room and making my dog shake. All because I was rooted in a worthless anger mentality. So when I broke out of that, boom. The first time we were listening, forgetful of obligations. Good Lord, I even hate calendars. Doesn't complete tasks or keep appointments. Will go on tangents. Low self-esteem. Man, that would put a bullet in you if you're not careful. That's where that song "Sun Goes Around" comes from. And when I was stuck in one of these moments, when you find yourself stuck in one of these moments and you can't find the esteem to lift yourself up out of the circumstance, and you can't find the worth in who you are, remember this: just drawing breath feeds a tree. You can do that. You got worth. So breathe out what you've got to the world and keep yourself out of this. For myself, it's a tough thing to leave and get out of. And when you're in that place, do something positive. Me, I write songs, pour it out on paper, and I think to myself, if I can relate to somebody else going through it, then I can help them through it, help them draw the map, because at least there's somebody who's going through it too. Relatable. Slow performance. Confidence and interest fade fast. Woo! First couple seconds into this, I'm looking at Mark, I'm like, ooh. I feel like I'm bombing. I don't know what to say. Huh? I'm all blank.
It's impossible.
Huh? It was a minute ago. So confidence and interest fade fast. Actually, another example, we went to the Brickwood Tavern right here, moments around the corner, brought the guitar out, went up on stage, played a set, came down, mingled, played a second set, left. Had a conversation with my man Mark here about how I felt my first set. I'm like, how did it sound? He's like, it was great. I hate it. I hate it. I felt like a fraud up there the whole time. I felt like I didn't belong here. I don't know why you write music. I sound like a retard. I don't know what I'm doing up here. This stuff hit me right there on the stage. And in a moment, I could have been, you know what? I'm just not in the mood. I'm going to do it tonight. I don't feel like it. And I could have blown an epic moment that I got to share with a group of friends. So, in these weaknesses, I tend this garden. Ooh, it's tough to do. Unable to discipline. Ooh, that links over here to all this stuff we talked about with that I really do enjoy a good chaotic situation. I thrive best in chaos because it gives me something to tinker with and put in order. And then if it's not chaotic, I don't want to be in that chaos. So here, in out of order, poor planning skills, thank God for Mark. Mark helped me put everything together here. Without Mark, this is still a notebook. Without Mark, everything here and everything here would not be up here. So, time waster. Man, oh man, I love getting fired from jobs for taking too much time talking to people because I should have been working. And I don't mind, so I'm like, listen, I believe what I said was more important than this here job. So, very strong time waster, emotionally driven, which will take you out of your logic. If you're driven with your emotion, you're not going to think clearly because you're thinking about getting satisfaction of your emotions instead of thinking something clearly through and doing it because you're making a responsible, logical, moral decision like we mentioned here in the strengths. Dependent tendencies. Man, oh man, it took me a long time to be my own man. Shamefully, it took me a long time to become my own man. Late, mid-30s to become my own man and actually start really learning a lot more about this stuff and change that nature of who I became as the dependent person. Woo, lonely. Man, oh man, when you hear my songs, you're going to catch some lonely in those songs. And there's a difference between alone and lonely. I really don't enjoy alone time until I have to recharge, plug into something ridiculous that I'm watching on Netflix and disappear into it for days at a time, and then I can go back in and strong with the world. So compulsive attention seeker, I don't even know why you guys are here. Anybody who you see that's typically up in front of a crowd and they're doing stuff like this, we got all kinds of actors we could throw at. Definitely Jim Carrey, Robin Williams. Those are a couple really good ones. Chris Farley, very much these characters right here with all of these weaknesses. If you saw them in their movies, they displayed these characteristics. Crazed popularity and approval, which is actually, my friend Drew reminded me something that I really want to say. I don't want to be a smart guy up here. It's not my intention. I'd rather be somebody who gets through and shows something important in what I'm doing than just be like, oh, wow, that guy said a lot of stuff that was smart and that was understood. So part of this thing is questions. If you come up with questions, I want to answer them for you. And then we book one-on-ones. Our live studio audience here has an opportunity. The paper in your hand will do a raffle later. It's going to be a one-on-one session booking for your UBU experience in who you are. And of course, that is for everybody who's out in the world. I'm sure I see a lot of people here, so I know typically we have the world. So welcome, world, to the room. You should see we've got a lovely group of people here. They're smiling faces, all smiling now because I said that. So going back into it, finding ways to get credit, dominating conversations, speaks with listening. I don't know what that means.
Probably without listening.
I'm going to say speaks without listening because that would be very pragmatic. That would not, don't do that. We just do this by all means. If you're this person, speak, listen. So, speaks without listening replaces others' opinion by speaking. Well, let me tell you what you think. Well, of course I know you think that because I form your thoughts to begin with. So, definitely don't want to replace others' opinions by speaking for them. Disloyal. Oh, man, I used to be that guy. Oh, thank God I'm not that guy anymore. Everybody hates that guy. Disloyal friendship. I'm like, hey, there's something better. I'm going to go over there. And then I would do it and do it and do it and do it. So, Don't be disloyal. Overcome that weakness quickly. Constantly on a whim. That's still true. I refuse to give that away. You can't have it. It's mine. And it's a beautiful weed. It has flowers. so constantly on a whim. Volatile. Thank God that one changed. I told you about those busted knuckles. Lives by excuses. Ew. Ew, gross. I hate that guy when I used to be that guy. Well, you know, there's this and this and this and this that makes me the reason I am. Living by these excuses of your past, of these lessons you never learned because your weakness kept you in that lie of low self-performance and esteem. Those constant excuses that make up the lie and that what-if nature we talked about earlier. And then repeating stories of grandeur. Please ask me anything. I'm happy to inform you of my wealth of knowledge in this here spectrum of beautiful things that you can learn in the universe. But by all means, if you don't ask me, I'm just going to assume you don't want to know. So my own stories of grandeur. Ask me my job that I've done. Ask me all this. So these constant things that blow up. Instead of course, relating to people for who they are, and then relying on their accomplishments as a reason for the conversation. So let's go ahead and stop picking on me for a minute and go over some of my strengths. Because man, oh man, I've got I had a garden that was super full of weeds. But here, I really try to operate as much as possible and as much as I've learned in what I can be in these. And these beautiful fruits that you're capable of being, in being somebody who's desirable to be around. A storyteller, and life to an environment. Someone who encourages you in what you're capable of doing. That really bland sense of humor that doesn't like anybody to laugh at all, ever. Enthusiastic. For those of you who can't see that on Facebook, that's a lie. That doesn't say that. It does not say that at all. That actually says strong sense of humor. My joke didn't land. So, hyper curious. I had to jump over this one. Everybody fell asleep in here. So, hold the listener and the audience hyper curious, demonstrative, however you want to say it, potato, potato, maybe the maybe. Expressive, cheerful, bubbly, stage ready, wide-eyed, seemingly innocent. That's a dangerous one. He seems so innocent. So, that one can be a strength. It can be, but it's better to just be innocent. Lives in the moment. Man, oh man. We'll talk later. We're going to take a break here pretty soon and then come back in and play some music. Lives in the moment. Talk about your life at zero. Your future's in front of you, your past is behind you, and you're at the zero of your infinity and where you're stepping. So, adaptability, thank goodness for that. Good Lord, I lived all over the country multiple times. So, sincere, there's that songwriting again, that strong inner child, because you see me, I'm extremely mature, I do everything on time, and I'm just all business, all the time, all the time, all the time. And you don't get anything out of it. So, strong inner child, creative, volunteers gladly, finds job easily, colorful, idea-driven, visually stimulated, audio-visual, intriguing, charming, promoter, inspirer of community inclusion. I like everybody to be involved. Leads by example. Makes friends easily. Loves a variety. Adores praise. Wait, that should be a weakness. That could very easily be a weakness if you're working for praise. If your goal is praise, get out of the industry. So we'll have to we're going to put that. It's a gray area to adore praise because there's a reason it can be a paycheck for you, but exciting to be around, easily envied, doesn't hold grudges, quick to admit wrongdoing, correct their own behavior, and apologize. And then, like I mentioned earlier, thrives on chaos and spontaneity. So if we can go back out to, let's go all the way back. For our break, we'll come back in 10 minutes. Come back in here in 10 minutes, and I'll play some music, and we'll finish this up.
Sounds good.
So, thank you guys, and we'll take some break. I'm gonna go outside for a minute, and
Closing them out real quick.
we will see if you guys had any questions when we come back here in soon. Sign off. Here we have everybody here in the gallery, in the chandelier room at the Mind and Mill, and all these lovely faces here to come and hang out. Super honored that this is happening. Thank you guys for being here too, and we will see you guys here when we sign back on in a few minutes.